News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
The hunt is on and the game is afoot. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. Congratulations. You made it. It's Friday, January 16th, 2015. Right now we have some fog in the area, 19 degrees. We are expecting some snow to turn to rain throughout the day. So we'll keep you updated on that. Roads around the area right now becoming just a little bit bare and wet, especially as you head to south and west of Missoula. Right now it's 19 degrees in Missoula. And our newscast this morning sponsored by Temp Ride Service for all of your plumbing and heating needs. Call Team Blue 728-1111. Despite protests and alleged death threats, a controversial wolf and coyote hunt will go on as scheduled starting today with registration up in Sanders County. Vice President of the Montana Trappers Association, Jason Maxwell, said the hunt was originally sponsored by the owner of a resort and motel in Trout Creek.
Once that hit social media, a local organization here in town that's against hunting and trapping spread his phone number all over the internet. He started getting death threats, and what ended it was a death threat that was after his grandchildren.
Maxwell said at that point the FBI was notified and the event was canceled. That's when his and other organizations decided to resurrect the event.
Didn't like the idea that these antis could just bully somebody out of having a hunt, and so we ended up making a poster and re-sponsored the event through the Montana Trappers Association, Montana Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife, and Idaho for Wildlife.
Maxwell said the intense nature of protests has engendered wide interest from hunters and trappers all over the country.
Right now the response has been great, and I think the antis going after us the way they did has actually helped it and got the word out. And right now we have people flying in as far away as Pennsylvania. We've got some people coming in from Washington.
KGVO News contacted the executive director of one of the groups opposed to the hunt, but has not received a response. Montana Supreme Court Chief Justice Mike McGrath said yesterday the state court system will start seeing a backlog of cases if its budget is further reduced during the legislative session. In his fourth State of the Judiciary speech before a joint session of the legislature, McGrath told lawmakers very lean budgets have led to inadequate training for staff and not enough personnel in certain departments. McGrath says the courts have done a good job managing resources and have reduced costs in library and computer research, dues to national organizations, and for attorneys in child custody cases. He says additional budget reductions will follow the backs of an overworked local judiciary and will ultimately affect constituents, especially in cases involving business litigation. Courts throughout the state process 350,000 cases per year, or about one case for every 3 Montana residents. Recent construction on West 3rd and Russell across from the Good Food Store has put many low-income families out of their trailer homes. The trailer court was bought and sold, and the residents were told to leave. Michael Moore with United Way and the 10-year plan to end homelessness explains the situation.
That place had been home to about 15 individuals and or families. Those people were paying in the neighborhood of $300 and a little less to rent their space. Most of them had lived there for a very long time. Most of them felt like this is where I live, this is where I'll die. Obviously it's not illegal for somebody to sell the property and for somebody else to come in and do something with it. So that's what happened in this case.
Moore says since these folks were displaced, Missoula has outlawed trailers on wheels, which means a trailer with wheels cannot be relocated within the city limits. Nevertheless, the demolition of their homes left many without a place to go. Moore got the call for help.
This was kind of outside the bounds of areas where we had tried to help people before, so we kind of barged off into some uncharted territory and wound up asking some favors of some landlords. I wound up driving around in my car out in West Riverside looking for any place that a mobile home could be, at a place that mobile home park that had a name, at places that didn't have names. We got all of those people moved.
You can hear that complete episode of Talk Back yesterday with Michael Moore on our website at newstalkkgvo.com. It's in a very convenient YouTube video form. The Department of Veterans Affairs, updating a story we had yesterday, the Department of Veterans Affairs says it plans to expand the size of its clinic here in Missoula. Officials with the VA Montana healthcare system held a town hall meeting in Missoula Wednesday evening to answer veterans' questions and hear concerns about VA policies. Acting System Director Johnny Ginnity told veterans that it plans to expand its current Missoula clinic in 4 to 6 months. The VA is looking at the possibility of using the old federal building in downtown Missoula as a new clinic, but Ginnity says that could be 18 months down the road. VA spokesman Randy Martin says the agency has chosen a permanent director for the Montana healthcare system, but the hiring needs to be approved by the federal government before it can be officially announced. Yesterday, Yellowstone National Park announced it would be attempting to capture hundreds of bison that were headed from the park into Montana. Here's park spokesman Al Nash.
Well, we have had a number of bison who now have approached, and some have crossed out the northern boundary of Yellowstone National Park. As part of our agreed-upon plan with our interagency partners, we've begun capturing some of those bison and putting them into our Stevens Creek facility near Gardner.
The number of bison roaming into Montana exceeds the number agreed to by the governor of Montana and the federal government back in 2000.
We have agreed upon with our partners to work toward a population of 3,000 to 3,500 bison. Our late summer population estimate was 4,900 bison. But we've targeted 800 to 900 bison that we'd like to remove from the population this year, and hunting will not take all of those animals away.
After leaving the facility in Gardner, the bison will be shipped to slaughterhouses and then to various tribal agencies. University of Montana professor John Kimball has been working for 10 years on a project called SMAP, or Soil Moisture Active Passive, an algorithm that can turn information gleaned from a NASA satellite into usable data. Kimball explains what SMAP can do.
We've been a contractor for NASA for many years. We generate global environmental data records from a variety of satellites for monitoring of vegetation over the globe, the global water cycle, and vegetation stress, environmental effects on agricultural productivity, forest range productivity monitoring as well.
All of Kimball's hard work will be put to use after NASA launches a new satellite later this month.
We wrote the software here at the University of Montana and tested it. And then we took those algorithms and that software, and we've integrated it into the mission processing system over at Goddard. The launch will occur January 29th, and after about a 3-month what's called an in-orbit checkout period, we'll actually start to see data come through this data processing system.
Our News Talk time now is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Expect to see a little bit of snow as you head out the door this morning. That will quickly change over to rain as we head later into the day, with a high of around 35 this afternoon. I'm meteorologist Mac Ray for KECI 13, your first alert station.